Hello and welcome to the Lindenwood Sports Network. I'm Neil Fischer. The men's and women's soccer teams have battled all season and are coming down to the wire in their conference standings. We'll talk to both head coaches today to get their perspective on how the season is going from their shoes. Joining me now is the women's head coach, Dave Musso. Coach, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's
nice
great
to see you. You went to the MIAA in your first season as the Lindenwood head coach, and now in your second season, you turn right back to the GLVC. What's it been like?
For me, it's been very comfortable. I was at Quincy for 12 years in the GLVC, and then I came here and we were in the MIAA, which played a bunch of schools that I wasn't very comfortable with. You had to learn from, and the travel was long, and now we're in the GLVC, so that's a league that I'm very comfortable with. I've had success there. I know all the coaches there. It's a great fit for Lindenwood athletics. We're right in the middle of the conference, easy to travel. We're leaving on some Fridays to play games, coming back Friday night, where, you know, it's an easy trip. You have less class time missed, and you get to sleep in your own bed. So it's really nice. The one transition, our players now are used to the MIAA, so that's been a transition for them to get used to these new schools, building rivalries. So it's been a transition for them, and, you know, it's a great time of the year. You know, we have 6 games left, four home games. We've only had 3 home games so far, so we're fighting to get into that postseason, and we're kind of finding our identity at the right time. So hopefully we can get hot. Hopefully there's enough runway for us to get into that season, that postseason. 6 games left.
And you guys have 6 games left. I would say you've faced the majority of the hard part of your schedule already.
Yeah.
With the games remaining, you have the teams that are below you in the standings in the GLVC. What are your thoughts on the team so far with those 6 games remaining?
Well, we've come a long way to get to this point. I think our last 3 games we're starting to find our own way. Knock on wood, our health is pretty good right now, and our units are playing really well. A lot of those games in the past, 5 of our losses have been 1-0 losses. So in 4 of those 5, we've outshot the opponent. So we can hang with anybody in this league. So we got to use that experience. And I think the only thing we're missing were those big moments in those games to score a goal, to get up. Because whenever you get down a goal, you're chasing the game. You get away from your identity. So we're now sticking to our identity of team defending, but we're getting some needed scoring, which has been fantastic. And using that experience, that confidence, that belief, especially 2 of the last 3 games, you beat a very good Bellarmine team in Maryville. They're number 2, only holding them to 2 shots per game the entire 90 minutes. That was outstanding for us. So taking that experience of beating some good teams in close games and now applying that to the rest of the way and having confidence and belief. And this team has the talent to do great things. Our back 4 are the best in the conference. I know that, you know, as far as talent wise, and our center mids are very good. It's just our forwards are now finding identity, and they found it. They're doing really well right now, so we got to keep that going. Heading into Rockers, which is Friday, and they're number 1. So why not, you know, use that experience of beating number 2 last weekend and apply the same thing on Friday.
Yeah, we'll get to the 3 previous games in a second because you've been unbeaten in those past 3 games. But talk a little bit about the 5 games that you've lost 1-0. Does that hurt the confidence of the players, only losing by 1 goal, or does it help them to say, all right, we're right there, we can hang with any team in the conference?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a mixture of both. I think, one, in the back of our minds, we keep telling ourselves, you know, because you try to stay positive, hey, we're right with them. That's the level. When we lost to McKendree, there were some mad people because we didn't find a way to win that game, and we outplayed them, and it's very frustrating. And so, yeah, you get down, you start questioning yourself because you're losing those games. That's the only thing that matters, really, is wins and losses. So you are questioning yourself, but then again, you got to stick to what got you here and trust your instincts. And hey, you're playing with those teams. It's just those wow moments in the games that can change everything, and scoring big goals and making a big save. And I think you got to have a mixture of both. One, to get ticked off, so carry that over to the next game, but also believe you can do it.
In the last 3 games, we'll talk about that now, because it could be a turning point in the season, and what a time to turn around the season right now.
Yeah.
Beating Maryville at Maryville,
Yep.
and you guys weren't the only ones. The men's team did it too,
Yeah.
and they were number 2 in the nation. What's the feeling like when both of you guys travel to the same place and both bring a win home?
That's one thing that's fantastic about this conference. You play doubleheaders. We always play, home at 5. They play 7:30, noon, 2:30. When we're on the road, there's that chemistry. As we're finishing the games, all of our men's teams there supporting us, cheering for us. And then after their game, we're watching them, supporting them. So it's a great chemistry between our teams. Coach Hutter is the man, and he's so passionate, and I think his players play with that same passion, and I think our players see that too, and really feed off that, and we support each other. But it's really nice having that, especially on Sunday at Maryville. Maryville's a very good program, but that's our rival. I mean, they're 20 minutes away from us, and at one point, both their men and women's team were undefeated for a while, and they've been just catching those breaks where we've been on the other side of that stuff. So for us to get that big win, and then that men's game was fantastic, knocking off the number 2 team in the country. But I'm very proud of our players. They get up for everything. They support everybody on this campus, especially the men's team.
Let's talk about the production and the numbers a little bit for your team. Maggie Miller leads the way with 4 goals, 2 assists, and 10 points. So what have you seen that you like from her production from last year to this year, and the others that have stepped up?
Maggie Miller has been a key piece to our team this year. If you've noticed, we've talked about these last few games. She wasn't starting, and we were looking for that spark. And we put her into that because she was doing really good off the bench. And she came in and made an impact. And those last 4 games she was in, she stretches the game. She's got pace. That's something that you can't coach. That's just a natural talent, and she has that. And it stretches the game, gets their backs to play back, and then there's space underneath for us to work in. And she's had some time with goals, some assists, and she's been fantastic for us, and has allowed our other players to jump in other roles. So as soon as we starting her up top, she's really changed the game for us and built confidence for our team, especially in the attack.
And on the defensive perspective, you look at the defense, you have a rock in net that hasn't allowed very many goals this season, kept you in ball games, and you have a defense right now that is playing phenomenal.
Yeah. Again, I really, truly believe this. We do have the best backs in the conference. We have basically 5 starting backs that we've used all year based on the injury, and whoever's playing well at that point, we'll start 4 of those 5 and then use the 5th off the bench. But we have a freshman, Kaylee Kasberg, who stepped in right away, and she's going to be a 4-year impact player at this level. And Jill Whipke, the other center back, she's a transfer from, I don't even know. But anyways, Division I transfer. And then we have Maria Salm, who's a transfer from SEMO. And then Elena White, our captain, has been battling injuries all year. But when she's in there, when she's healthy, she's one of the best backs in the conference. And also Ava Burke, too, can fill in anywhere on the outside and middle. But they've been our rock all year, kept us in all those games. And they held a very good Maryville team to 0 shots. And that's the first time Maryville's been shut out all game. So credit to them, credit to our goalie. And that helps our front players because we win the ball, stop them, and then we can go attack.
All right, so let's get into this weekend. We have Rockhurst, the number 24 team in the nation. What are you seeing from them this year that you're going to have to go against?
They're just very good all around. They got some very good dangerous attackers, which hopefully can feed into us because if we can shut them down, it will take away from their game plan. They're a team that's confident, but they're also on the road. We've only played 3 home games this year, so hopefully we can find our identity and build off Sunday and just knock them off. It doesn't matter who we play at this point, whether it's Rockhurst Friday or William Jewell Sunday. We got to find a way to get wins because we need wins to get into that tournament. So I know we'll be ready. So we got to channel that energy and then go execute.
All right, Coach. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have. Thanks to Coach Musso for joining us. Coming up next, we will have the men's soccer head coach, Carl Hutter, on to discuss how their season is going.
Jeff Foxworthy here. You know, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, thing is, there's a lot more to say. Like if you've ever found yourself burning yard debris and then walking away, well, you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
What is it, Julia? Why are you so excited, honey?
Hey, do you want to use your talker? With Julia's autism, using a talker can help her find the words she wants to say.
My dog.
You want to do something with Rose, Julia?
Play ball.
Do you want to play catch with Rose? I think Rose is excited to play catch too. Oh, Julia, you show us so many different ways to talk together.
Oh, and play. Good catch, Rose.
Okay, give Julia the ball. There you go. Okay, throw the ball, Julia. Oh,
For Julia's family, early screening for autism made a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
okay, Julia, there you go. Oh, another good throw. That's the way.
Welcome back to the Lindenwood Sports Network. I'm Neil Fischer. Joining me now is the men's soccer head coach, Carl Hutter. Coach, how you doing?
I'm great. Good morning.
You guys are in the thick of things right now in the GLVC standings. What are your thoughts on the first year so far in the GLVC?
Well, we're excited to be here. We're glad we are. It's a great conference for us to be in, especially for geographic reasons, but also it encompasses a large majority of our athletic programs that we have here. So it's good for those reasons. And also, we have some good history over many years before we entered this conference of playing a lot of these teams over the years. And I have some good, strong friendships with people and relationships. But it's a great conference, and we're excited to be here.
Is there a different style of play that was going on last year in the MIAA compared to this year in the GLVC that you've seen?
I wouldn't say so. There's some teams play more of a possession style, other teams play more of a direct style, and you just have to adapt and adjust. And sometimes you have to transition even in a game, depending on what's going on. You have to kind of change what you're doing in a moment. Sometimes if somebody goes down, somebody gets hurt, you have to maybe change how you're playing. So no, it's just playing soccer. It's attacking and defending. So not really. It's just playing good, strong soccer.
And you guys are 12th in the GLVC, or excuse me, you guys are tied for 6th in the GLVC, and you faced very good opponents, and you're coming off a big win against the number 2 team in the nation, Maryville. What do you like and what do you not like throughout the season thus far?
I like that we're gaining more experience playing these games. Each game is its own game and brings its own set of experiences, and we're hoping and trying to learn from each one of those. And we're just trying to grow. Nothing out of the ordinary. We're just trying to grow as a team and raise our level higher, and that's what we're looking to do. That's what we're trying to do, and that's what the expectations are for our players. Every year you have, players that are either in the lineup or out of the lineup because of this reason or that reason. You have to go with the players that you have, and somebody has to step up. And so each game, we don't get ahead of ourselves. We try to just play each game one game at a time. And so we're enjoying ourselves, and I think we're growing stronger together right now.
And you've been here for a while. What is the culture that you try to bring to the games and off the field?
Be responsible, enjoy yourselves. We're glad you're here. We spent a long time recruiting you, and you spent a long time recruiting us. So let's just work on growing together and trying to develop. This is professional development time in all of our lives, their lives, and that includes doing the soccer and the athletic part of it. So just trying to grow and get to a higher level.
You guys have won 3 out of your last 4 games. What have you seen in the past 4 games that has really made a difference throughout the season?
Stronger, tighter. Every player, every student, athlete has to try to bring their game to a higher level and make some kind of contribution to the team and for themselves first. It starts there, and then we have to all be connected by the same rope, and we got to keep the slack out of the rope. We got to keep growing together. So basically just that's it in a nutshell.
You guys have your final home stretch coming up featuring Rockhurst, William Jewell, Drury, and Southwest Baptist. And you've shown this week that anybody can beat any team on any given day. So what are you looking forward to in this final homestand of the season?
One game at a time, keep growing, keep trying to get better at what you do. People signed on to do this, and we respectfully asked them to come in and to be a part of our program. So just keep going and growing, trying to take yourself to a higher level and develop. And learning curve sometimes is really broad. We want to try to make that smaller. And so somebody that's a freshman, they're not a freshman anymore because we've been playing now we're in our second month, and we started in the middle of August. So here we are. So just keep going and raising it up. There's really not much else to say about that. Sometimes we'll talk with players and talk to them about a few technical things that they need to do. But mainly it's just about working harder and trying to be smarter and just raise your level.
And you guys have had players raise their level already throughout the year. Luke McBeth, the leading goal scorer and points getter on the team right now, is having a breakout year. So what are your thoughts on him having this breakout year?
He's a talented player. He's a big, strong guy. He's very versatile. He can play in multiple positions. And he just gets on the field and he's a baller. He just balls. And he's got a good mentality and attitude. He's a real sharp, smart guy. And football is part of his DNA. Soccer is part of his DNA. The rest of the world calls it football. And so do we. We call it ballers and football, even though in America we play with a different style of football, but it's all the same as far as I'm concerned. He just keeps working hard, and he enjoys playing. Sometimes during the week when we're trying to get people to recover, you almost have to tie him down because he's always wanting to train and work out, and sometimes we have to take it away and just tell him to recover today. But no, he's got a strong mentality for playing soccer. He's doing a real good job in terms of his overall, handling his responsibilities too. So he's a fun young man. We enjoy having him here.
And you guys have the two leading goal scorers from last season as well, Thomas Hutchison and Gaspar Alvarez. So does it make your offense more dynamic having all three of those players?
Yeah, those guys, they're stepping in. Gasper has knocked on the door a few times. He's scored some goals that were called back on offsides, but he's a guy that finds the goal. Those guys are seasoned veterans. They've been around for a while. Thomas is a galloping horse. He really is. And also we have a guy coming up too in Josh Scholl, who also hasn't scored many goals this year, but he's lighting it up now. And these guys are potentially, they're capable of doing a lot of things in the attacking part. But also, they're just ballers, too. They get on the field, and they run up and down the field, too, and help us defend.
And Scholl and Alvarez have come off the bench a few times for you guys. Does that bring a different dynamic to the team and the other opponent's vision to what they're seeing?
Those guys are making strong contributions, and you can only start so many players, and those guys have started their share of games. I would say that they're all starters, and sometimes they make their contributions coming off the bench. But they're dynamic players. They like to run to the goal, and they like to try to score and stuff. So it's a fun experience to watch. And most importantly, those guys have a mentality that they want to go score goals too. So we hope and expect that they'll continue to do that.
What's the mentality of the midfielders? Because they're flying around doing everything for the squad right now. Russo, Silva, and Weinrich are key players in your game.
Those guys, they connect between our backs and our forwards, and if you will, they kind of stir the drink in our team. And yeah, those guys probably run somewhere between 7 to 10 miles in a game, and there's a lot of it sprinting and stopping and sprinting and stopping and sprinting and stopping. And so, yeah, they have a blue-collar mentality. They're all very solid, strong, technical players too, but they also have a blue-collar mentality like they're digging ditches. They put a lot of hard effort in every game, and it makes our team go.
When you're coaching against a player like Leon Silva, who can do so many different things with the ball or getting to the ball, how do you stop him, or how do you get him corralled, because he seems to never get corralled?
Yeah, he's a high-wired guy. He's got a strong mentality about playing football. He's also an outstanding student, so he's a diligent person. And you just wind him up like an ever-ready battery and just put him out there, and he just runs and runs. He has just a strong mentality for success and winning. And so he's you almost have to tie him up sometimes to get him to calm down a little bit. But he's an outstanding young man, has a strong mentality for playing soccer, and has a spirit for just doing things in the right way. He's just a very diligent person.
Speaking of tying it up, Noah Savage, Lewis came into Lindenwood 5-0, and they came in with Wanga and Mathisen up front, and Noah Savage held them to not scoring a goal. What have you liked that you've seen from Savage?
Noah Savage is a strong man. He just has a lot of athleticism. I wrote him a note a couple weeks ago and said, can we trust in you to take this to a stronger level? And he just wrote back and said, you can trust in me to do that. And that's what he's doing. He's just an outstanding young man. He comes from a strong professional family. His father's a superintendent of a school district, and mom is a professional person. And Noah is he's just locked in emotionally. And he's a quiet, laid-back guy. But he's a strong, I'll just call him a strong man. He's like Thomas Hutchison and Kyle Weinrich. They're just horses. They're strong people. And they have a good thirst for running and playing soccer.
And in net, you have Tim Licht, and he's been doing a phenomenal job all season long. In that Lewis game, he had some great saves that kept you guys in the ball game and ended up tying the game. And then at Maryville, you go to Maryville, and he's hanging in there with the number 2 team in the nation, down a man. At the end, towards the end of the game. So what do you see from him that is just so great about his mentality?
Well, we're so proud of Tim and of all of our players, and including our depth in our goalkeeping position, because there's a very competitiveness. You know, also Cole Luby, who is his teammate. They're in strong competition, and also a new freshman, Zach Martin. They're in strong competition every day. And so rising up to the level that Tim has risen up to is because of the competition that they have in training every day. And Tim is, it's the most important position on our team to guard our goal, but also our players in front of the goal to block shots and not let them have attempts on goal. But when they have, Tim has he's playing at a really high level right now. He's a big, strong man. He's put a lot of time into training, cross-training in the off-season. And you can see a 6'6" guy, get on a pull-up bar, and we do a lot of core strength training. And this guy, I told him, I said, you guys need to be able to do like 10 to 15 to 20 pull-ups. And it's just interesting watching these guys train and do their cross-training, but then also get into training and compete against each other every day. So my hat's off to Tim. He's a strong leader on our team, but also the core people that are training with him every day at practice, and Cole and also Zach. That's why Tim is at such a strong level right now, I think, because of the competition they have in training every day. And he's shown to be a strong leader on the field as well. And we need that. It's most important for us to have success and to move forward one game at a time.
And moving forward into this week, how do you guys not become lackadaisical coming off of the win against Maryville, knowing that these teams you're facing aren't the number 2 team in the nation like Maryville?
Well, we're playing Rockhurst, and Rockhurst has a long history. Their coach is a very good friend of mine. I have a lot of fondness and respect for him. His younger brother, I went to the same high school as he did down in the city at Roosevelt High School. But they have a long history of being in Final Fours and national championship games. So regardless of how many games they've won, or if they're top ranked in the country or whatever, it's a strong, formidable group, and they're well coached. So if it's Rockhurst, or if it's, again, I said earlier, respectfully, because I used to work at the State Blind School, if it's the school for the blind and we're playing beeper ball soccer, we got to show up and play each game. So it's just a mentality about one game at a time and to keep going. And then we're going to try to get ourselves in a position to get a berth in the postseason and then see where we go from there.
And so what is your style of game going into this weekend against Rockhurst, and what are you telling the boys?
We're going to attack and defend together and try to win our battles individually, and then try to score enough goals to win the game. That's our next game. That's the only thing we're really concentrating on right now.
And so do you guys think of all the standings, in particular the lower half of the standings, with William Jewell and Southwest Baptist only have winning one game this season?
I haven't looked at the standings one time. Years ago, when we didn't have all the technology we had, I could really do a really good job of not showing them all that stuff. But now they can dial up anything they need, so you can't hide things from people. But I haven't looked at standings one time. I don't really care. What really matters is who's standing at the end of the season, and a new berth in the postseason. That's what really matters, and that's what the mentality is. The players, they're going to look at that stuff and see it, and we just hope that they keep their psyches devoted to each game, each practice. You got to rise up and make your attitude at practice like it's a game situation, and make believe it's a game situation, and then just get ready to play the next game.
And speaking of the postseason berths, for the people who haven't been to the postseason yet, what's your advice to them in those games? Because they're not like other games. Players have more adrenaline going into the games, and how do you contain that and get it out in the right way on the field?
Well, the players have to find a way to contain it. We can only say so much and do so much, but regularly we will tell them to keep running. You have to run a lot because there's one ball. Keep running, and running with good purpose, and try to stay intense, but get into a flow and stay calm and keep going.
And Coach Musso talked about you guys traveling on the same pass. You guys have home games together. You guys have away games together. And he talked about the culture of Lindenwood soccer a little bit. What are your thoughts on both of you guys playing doubleheaders?
Well, we love it. We get a chance to watch our women play, and our women get a chance to watch us play. There's some strong, solid relationships throughout our programs, and as there is throughout the school. Building relationships with people that don't play sports or people that play other sports and having fondness and respect for each other is important. But specifically to the women's team, Dave Musso has some history here because he coached in the men's program and the women's program years ago. I watched Dave play in high school and club soccer before he even knew who I was. And then he had a great run at Quincy. And so he also has a strong spirit and mentality for the kind of culture that we're talking about. So we like watching each other, and we cheer for each other. And that's it. It's just simple and basic relationship that we have for each other, and cheering each other on too.
Did he offer any advice coming into the GLVC with his past in the GLVC?
Yeah, he told me. I already know the history, and also because we played a lot of the teams. But every game, whether it's somebody that is a nationally ranked team or somebody that's won one or two games, these teams show up to play every time. Just like it was before we were in the Great Lakes Valley and we played these teams, and then we played teams outside of this area. Typically, student athletes, or somebody that's playing in the band or something, they're just as serious about beating on them drums or playing the guitar as these athletes are running. So they're passionate, and it's important to them to show well and do well. So you have pride and a mentality. So whether it's a team that's 1-15 or 8-8 or 15-1, there's pride in people. If you show up thinking that because some team's record is this or that, you may find yourself on the downside of losing a battle, that because you thought that you had the game won before the last whistle blew and you had more goals than the other team. You got to show up and play each game. And if you don't do that, then you got to change your mentality.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck to you. Thanks for joining us. That's all the time we have. On behalf of Coach Hutter and Coach Musso, I'm Neil Fischer. Thanks for joining us on the Lindenwood Sports Network.